22, I was arrogant and cocky as hell. I really was. Then I had a few life experiences where I got out of my shell musically as an artist.
You're listening to Find the Good News, Episode 74, The Brodozer of Bass, featuring Trip Wamsley. Find the Good News is produced by Parker Brand Creative Services, a branding agency that thinks sideways, pushes forward, and gets your brand up. See what else we do at parkerbrandup.com. Thank you for queuing up this episode of Find the Good News. Since our last episode, the systems and routines that most of us live by have been disrupted as cities, states, and countries take precautions to decrease the spread of COVID-19 or coronavirus. I'm going to assume that you are probably making necessary changes in your life and your home, just like the rest of us, and part of that might mean social distancing. I'm here to tell you that we may be distant physically, but you are never alone. In fact, that's one of the messages at the heart of Find the Good News. You do not have to be alone. We have communication tools that no human society has ever had before. I encourage each of you to use those tools for good. Reach out to someone, share your heart, send out video updates, connect through social apps. These tools do not have to be toxic. They can be used to make us better. I believe we can do that. I really do. In fact, that's what I'm here to do with this new episode of Find the Good News. I'm inviting you to sit with me at the right round table with local musician, the bass maestro, the mad master, Trip Wamsley. Trip brought an energy into the studio that I'd not experienced before, and I think you'll enjoy all the wild places we go. In this time of social distancing, I'll be bringing you conversations that will touch your heart, make you think, bring out your joy, and fill your throat with laughter. Coming up, I get to share my comforting conversation with Eugenie Tullis. After that, I have a brand new Beacon Series episode featuring philosophy and religion teacher Greg Soden, the producer and host of the Classical Ideas podcast. Some positive encouragement from Ashley Gott of Empire of the Seed, the matastic multiplying mind of Travis Bolden, and the chuckster of chucklers, Mr. Chase Bonin of the Lake Charles comedy scene. I know it's tough out there, but good people keep showing up to share this table with you. Keep sending me your good news guest suggestions, and I'll keep having these intimate visits to share with you. Right now, it's time to take your mind off the virus woes and political foes. Shut off video streams and let your spirit vibe on positive daydreams. Get in a comfortable space, relax, and let a whimsical smile rest on your face. Now, press play on a little good news. When Trip Wamsley entered the studio with his bass guitar, I had a feeling our conversation was going to be a lot of fun. I had never met Trip before, but we were friends on Facebook, and based on his posts, I picked up that he was in tune with an unorthodox string theory. There was no doubt that I was in for a treat, and Mr. Trip Wamsley didn't disappoint. He sat down in front of the mic and said, "What you got?" And we dove in from there. His wit and responses flowed quickly from one topic to the next, just as fluidly as I'd seen his fingers float across his guitar. My questions were dim compared to his vibrant answers. Trip would come in sideways with exciting details and perspectives, which led us into territory that my humdrum questions would have never gone. It was a real trip, pun intended, to say the least. What I experienced in this visit with Trip Wamsley was an extremely talented individual that puts it all in when it comes to musical experimentation. He has a mind geared explicitly towards thinking about the wonder of everything. He described himself as a musical mad scientist, and I can think of no better description myself. What I loved most about Trip was his authentic presentation. There was no pretension. What he presented was raw, uncut, and barely filtered. Trip is a truly rare piece of the universal creative principle that was lopped off and put right here in our community to observe and share the musical mysteries of the earth. This is my conversation with Trip Wamsley.
Wake up, it's morning. You're dreaming up a story. I can hear the way it's going, 'cause you're laughing in your sleep on the path to your deliverance. And a holy wall of light pouring through your window.
Old news, bad news, fake news,
Sometimes you just want to shut it all down and get no news at all. With Find the Good News, I aim to change that by focusing on good people doing good work. I visit with artists, educators, civic and spiritual leaders, musicians, business owners, students, volunteers, and everyday citizens who are using their creativity, resources, and talents to bring hope and happiness to their corner of the world. In each episode, I dig into the hearts and minds of my extraordinary guests. We have street-level conversations about relatable things going on in their lives. Discover the critical life experiences that shape them, the perspectives that drive them, and the fundamental beliefs that are anchoring them to a path of goodness. There's a lot of news in the world. My name is Oran Parker, and I'm going to find the good.
And I love you just as well. Okay, tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready, man.
Hey, I got my
Yeah, sounds good, right?
Yeah. Okay, let me snag my coffee.
Sure.
This is my water?
That's your water, man. We don't use plastic jugs, so it's a refill.
Okay,
Filtered
right on.
water, though, man. Filtered
So you're
water.
eco.
We try, man. We try. You know, it's we've been dialing it in for the last year and a half or so, but you know,
Right
man,
on.
it's one of those things. Like when you start finding all these other little things. You got to get your arms around. You know,
Right? And you have all the squishy things for nervous
Dude,
people?
for nervous people, we got squishy stuff. We got candies. You need some sour candies, man, to really kick things off. We got the old toxic waste. I mean, we're ready.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get cracking. What you got?
All right, man. So this show is called Find the Good News. The whole
Okay.
purpose of this show is to try to retune social media in a more positive way.
Okay, I'm all for that.
There's a lot of negativity out there, and we thought, you know what, an easy way to do that is just start putting positive stuff out there and just look right here in our hometown for good people who are doing good works.
Okay.
It's a pretty big umbrella.
Sounds good. Yeah. But it's a good umbrella.
Yeah, man. And so most of the folks who've been on here were recommended by somebody else who was on the show.
Okay.
And so over the holidays, Marcus Sawyer was in town. We did a Brian Moore tribute episode.
Yeah.
And a few days later, he said, "Man, I know somebody you need to have on your show." I was like, "Who's that?" Trip.
Uh-oh.
So I said, "Okay, I've seen you, but I don't know you."
Right.
Right? And so I said, "Well, hey, let me go do my little cyber stalking and start digging around." And what I ran into was this incredible music.
Right.
Yeah. And so I said, "Well, I'd like to hear the story, man. So if you don't mind, to kick things off, if you could just tell the audience who you are in your own words."
I am a musical mad scientist. I happen to focus on a primary instrument, which is the bass, but the things I'm into stretch way beyond just bass. So I mean, I know that's kind of boring, but
That's not boring.
But that's what it is, you know. It's just like I like music. I like creating it.
Yeah.
The most. Playing live is kind of like a fun inconvenience. I have a home studio, and normally I just deal with mad scientist experiments in my lab. You know.
Yeah.
There was an article in Lanyap about me and my lab, and I'd done a new record. It's called Shibboleth. It's on Spotify, iTunes, all the usual.
Oh, really? Okay. Right on.
Yeah, all the usual suspects, and it's very bass centric, of course, naturally, but it's got other things as well, some analog synth sequences, some microtonal stuff, and it's a lot of fun. But the fun part of making a record is the creative process. Once the record is out there, I'm kind of no longer interested in it anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're done with it. You move on.
Yeah, because it's like, my blessing and my curse is like, okay, I did that yesterday. We're at today now.
Ah, okay.
Okay, what you got? What
Right
you got?
on.
Because I just don't.
I've never been that kind of person who wants to, rest on what you did yesterday, because I'm not, unless you're like Chesty Puller or Audie Murphy, what you did yesterday as an artist is not necessarily badass. You got to keep being badass from day to day to day.
Right. That way it shows it's not a fluke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm kind of all about. Yesterday's irrelevant,
Right on. That's true.
It's like what you got to say. What do you have to say today? And a lot of times, in between records and creative processes, I really just practice the presence of craft, so when the creative bug hits, I'm ready to go, and I'm not struggling with limitations of technique or musical knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can relate. I mean, I'm not a musician. I can relate that to other things I've done in my life. You may prepare your whole life,
right,
and really, like you said, hone your craft or whatever skill it is, but then when the day comes to utilize it, you're ready. You're not.
And I draw from everything. I'm not good enough to be a straight ahead jazz player. I'm as a rock player, I'm a really good improviser, which is kind of a oddity in rock music. But what happens there is that I can flow at a high rate of speed within those confines. I'm kind of taking tangents. The coffee's kicking, man.
Is it strong?
Yeah, I love it strong.
So what you're saying right there, you said, what did you say about how that was an oddity in rock music?
And it's like I know this is supposed to be positive waves, but
no, bring it on, man.
But what I find in rock music today is there's fantastic stuff being done, but most of what people are exposed to is very conservative to me.
Okay,
very conservative. You have more people that are personalities and over the top personalities making conservative music, and I don't find that to be the spirit of rock and roll.
I get you. We're living in sort of that, and we have probably been moving towards that for a long time, the cult of personality,
right? It's very Orwellian, Put a package on it, you can
Orwellian is an adjective describing a situation,
nice,
idea, or society.
Why is my
well identified as
I love that though.
To the welfare of a free and open society.
So serious, man. Okay.
Hey, she explained exactly for those listeners out there that don't know what Orwellian means.
Okay,
we just got. I like that.
Well,
how Orwellian was that?
Oh man, that was borderline creepy. I put her in an English accent, because I find it a tad more diabolical,
I get it.
It's like baddies in movies are always English.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Which I think is pretty funny. Most of my English friends are not that way.
They're not baddies. They're not the James Bond.
They're not baddies, but they tend to sound a bit more pompous. But that's just how they talk.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get what you're saying too. I think about that not just with rock music. I mean, just a lot of things where what we're being sold is just personality or just the trappings of this character that's been formed.
Right. Having said that, I really like Sia.
Yeah, I get that. My son likes that too because, again, there you go. There's no personality. She sort of went against that by not, showing herself, which in a way, I mean, does create a draw, but at the same time, you're not drawn to the glamour and the glitz and what she's wearing this week or what she believes, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's just over the top. It's like I did like Ricky Gervais's whatever that was.
Oh yeah, the Golden Globes.
The Golden Globes. I mean, talk about oh my gosh, he's probably got a bounty on his head.
I know
for that
man.
one.
That was wonderful though. It's like he just went sort of anarchist on them and just stripped it all away.
And some of them were taking the mickey, and some people weren't.
Right. Oh, you could see it in the audience, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, what is?
Yeah, Tom Hanks's facial expressions have now become a meme. You know? And so. And I always look at it this way: when something starts becoming a meme, it's over. It's just over, Yeah. It's like, you're a meme now. It's like all the Karen memes.
Oh, for sure.
It's just like, let me speak to the manager. It's pretty much over. It's circulating everywhere,
Yeah, there's and the cat meme with the ladies,
She was somebody on Real Housewives of L.A. or Beverly Hills, and she has some kind of meltdown on the show. I went down a wormhole. Talk about cult of personality, and I was bored, and I was into it. I was tucked well into a gin and tonic, and I was just like going, what the hell is up with that girl? And a blah, 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 story behind meme crying lady, and then it showed the meltdown video on YouTube, and I was just like going, oh my God, she's one of those Botox, welcome to Silicon Valley. It's kind of like, wow. I was like going, okay, well, when you become a meme, it's kind of over.
Yeah, I get you. That's it. It's like you've got that bookmark in your life. It's turn the page or stop right there.
Yeah,
right?
But taking a 180 on the street here, doing a verbal Rockford here. What I'm doing right now that's positive and creative is I'm working with some local musicians that play with other people that are incredibly talented, and I'm working on putting something out. I don't know what to call it yet. I'm working with Jeremiah Szymanski right now, very oddball, lovable guitar player, and I'm going to be working with a few other players around town. Getting like 1 to 2 songs out there, and we're going to put it out as a compilation.
Nice. Okay.
And through DistroKid, all the monies can go to the different performers.
Oh, okay.
Now these days, nobody's going to make a big bank, but it might, might buy a sack of groceries and a tank of gas every once in a while.
Yeah, I get that.
And then depending upon the traction that gets, which I think locally. It's going to really work out. I don't know what to call it, but the thing is, a compilation record of local talent for people to access. In other words, these are people that are backing other people up that are phenomenal musicians. And I'm not taking a nickel for my own time. I'm doing this. Now here it benefits me. It benefits me just as much them, because I was just like going, man, I wish somebody would have done that for me when I was a young musician,
Right.
Because what they're doing needs to be heard, And some of these people are serious players, and I do have people, thankfully worldwide, that listen to my stuff, and so I'm going to put it out,
You're going to be able to get people and put ears on people that maybe wouldn't get that otherwise, because you have some.
And if it gets enough traction, we could do a live show, a kind of a round robin sort of thing, where everybody gets up there and does their things with house musicians and things like that. And the thing is, it's exclusively local. I mean, people that live in the lake area.
Right.
And that means, I just call that people that live in Calcasieu Parish.
Gotcha.
And that's what I want to do. And so I'm getting close to finishing up Jeremiah's stuff. Then we're going to drag in a drum element to play some drums. And then hopefully going to be working. Who was my list with Taylor Lee, the bass player for the. We're going to digress into the world of Taylors. I want to do something with Taylor Lee and Taylor Morgan and possibly a drummer named Taylor Teague. So there's going to be 3 Taylors.
Man, the 3 Taylors.
Oh yeah, the 3 Taylors. And that's really about it at the moment. So it's like 2, 4, 6, 8, and I may do a track on there myself. I'm not sure yet.
That's actually really awesome that you're doing that. Can we jump back for a second? Because
absolutely.
Now I'm curious.
Absolutely, because you got to watch out for me. Because like Mike Watt, the Minutemen, I'll start to spiel, and it just
stream of consciousness.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
I do it too.
It's almost like a James Joyce. But I wrote it on the train once, choo 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 for 5 paragraphs.
I do. I do that all the time, and then I go, "How did I get here?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, my whole life is the Talking Heads. When the days go by, water running. How did I get here?
Well, speaking of how did you get here, you said that early a minute ago.
I walked to the door.
Easy enough. Yeah. Well, hey,
where'd you come from, man?
Right outside.
Through the door.
So you said that you wish somebody had done that for you when you were first starting out. Can we go back to that? When do you consider your origin point with music?
Well, I'll land that plane pretty quickly. Generations of musicians on my mom's side, my dad's side. You pretty much popped out of the oven and they stuck something in your hands. Because my grandfather was the band director at Mississippi State from 1928 to 1954. My father was a band director. My mom was a chorus teacher and singer. My grandmother played the piano. My great-grandmother played the piano and guitar. And going back to my grandfather played the cornet, string bass, cello,
oh wow,
snare drum, and trombone. And I'm probably leaving something out. He also wrote the music for the Mississippi State alma mater.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's cool. That's a nice feather in his cap.
So, and my sister played clarinet and percussion in the high school band. My sister also plays piano.
Oh man.
And so
how many siblings do you have?
I just have a sister. She lives in Houston. I got 2 nephews. One senior in high school. The niece and older nephew, they're in college.
Musically inclined?
No.
Really?
They did not get bitten by the bug.
There you go.
My son's 16. He plays in the sulfur band, but he's not really smitten by the music bug. And
my son's 16. He's in color guard, so he's with the marching band a lot.
Okay, so he's in color guard.
Yeah, Sulphur High. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
they
right.
probably know each other.
Yeah, probably so.
I'll have to ask him.
Xander's in the pit. He's on the sidelines playing all the percussion, like the djembes.
Oh, okay. Well, I've probably seen him, but I didn't know it was your son.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, he's kind of got a little fro going, and he rocks out.
Yeah, because during marching season, the band and color guard are kind of having that symbiosis together. But then now in the winter, it's like they're off doing their own things.
Right. Yeah, Xander's in concert band.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool, man. Mm-hmm. So your son's got the bug too.
Yeah, a little bit. He's not smitten. He's dedicated but not upset. Obsessed. Dedicated but not obsessed.
So I get it. You pop out of the oven.
Yeah.
You got all this history behind you, this DNA. But when do you start to narrow in? Like on bass, right?
Well, I started playing saxophone at a young age, and that didn't take. Then when I was 14, I heard I got a reasonably decent stereo, and I could hear bass for the first time.
Huh.
And I played silly love songs, and the bass just by Paul McCartney. Yeah, the bass just jumped out of the speakers and bit me on the ass, and I was just like, "That's what I want to do."
Yeah.
And then my dad had a bass and an amp at the school he taught at that wasn't being used, and he brought it home, and I plugged it in the amp and just went boom, and everything in the house kind of shook, and I just went, okay, this is what I want to do. And then I had some great teachers, that taught me the right way to play from the get-go, and I'm grateful for that. My dad had a good friend that played bass, and
that was probably nice to have that kind of connection.
Yeah, and I do, and I still use the fundamentals that Jerry Mouton taught me to this day.
Yeah,
and it has served me very well, very well.
And that's a blessing especially when you're young, whatever it may be, to have somebody that does that for you.
Yeah, my dad just knew, better do it right from the get-go. Although my dad was a trumpet player, so it's like the realms of amplifiers and chords and having to change strings and sound effect pedals and stuff. That was not in his realm of understanding, because it's just like, well, why do you need money for bass strings? I don't wear out a trumpet mouthpiece, and so that was a little out of his scope. And so he'd call Jerry and go, Jerry, Tripp's having to change the strings all the time. Oh, Ed, that's normal. Oh my gosh, really? It was so funny.
I like that.
For the first 3 or 4 years I was playing, it's like my dad's always on the phone with Jerry Mouton, going, Jerry, what's Tripp wants this kind of guitar. What do you think of that? Oh, Ed,
that's awesome though, man, that he had a relationship with somebody.
Yeah, and so it's like, Jerry Mouton, he passed away a few years ago.
Oh, really?
He also taught Jay Ecker as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anybody who was anybody around here, bass wise, years ago, especially in the 70s and the 80s, Jerry Mouton taught them all.
Well, that's really cool legacy,
them all, man. And he was a real deal. He was a card carrying badass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like that, man. I love stories like that. I know it's about this show's about you today, but I love that detail because...
Well, everybody comes from somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. I love that collectiveness of that, where this person's life.
You come from somewhere, it's like, no man is an island.
Right.
Even if you want to be, you're still for lack of a better term, a gestalt, a product of the environment and upbringing. The Lake area is a very interesting place in that it kind of breeds two types of people that either toe the line and they do their thing, and that's cool, or it breeds people, just like Brian Moore was. It kind of breeds a rugged individualist, because you just kind of... It's totally fascinating. I've found that, if you even think about it in, terms of say New York City in the 70s or something like that. Okay, you got the punk movement, you got everything happening with CBGBs, bands like Suicide and the Dead Boys and Teenage Jesus and the Jerks and Sonic Youth and people like that. Television and the early days of Blondie. It's like that was just a small circle in a city full of millions of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got millions of people towing the line in New York City, but you still had this enclave of rugged individualists.
Okay.
And the thing is, every place is different, but every place is also the same.
I see what you're saying. Sort of the same processes are occurring, the same connections and synapses are firing, and people are pairing up and then moving on and building, but they're just different people.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Different rugged individuals.
And so the rugged individualists here are still going to be a small enclave, with people that are just, living their lives and going about their day, being soccer moms, Kyles and Karens, and, driving Brodozers and things like that, and hey, having a Brodozer is great. It's awesome. It's like I tried to make fun of them for a while, and all of a sudden I just realized, I said, you know what? If the chips are down, some of us might be counting on that that guy to pull us out of the water.
That's funny that you say that. I've never heard that term before.
What, Brodozer?
Brodozer. No.
Oh. My son loves cars, and he was listening to this podcast to this guy who reviews weird cars, and this guy uses a weird voice sometimes, and he's like just going, well, you know, all these Kyles and their Brodozers and Karen in a gas wagon. I just went Brodozer, and I just
that's sticky, man. It gets in your head.
And I just yeah, right. And I just about I spat out my coffee. We were driving together, and he pipes that into the car. Brodozer. I was like, God, I cracked up, and I just thought, that is so good, Brodozer.
God, now I'm just going, God, my truck might even be that category, because I kept getting bigger and bigger, and I got bigger tires because I didn't want to get stuck. I got stuck twice, and said, next vehicle I buy, I'm not getting stuck.
Some of my best friends drive Brodozers.
Oh, that's a good word, man. I love that. I wish I'd made it up.
Nice Brodozer, Josh. All right, man. You know.
God, I think I'm just going to call my truck that from now on, just for fun. That's
there you go.
Cool. Got a cool ring.
I got a nice Brodozer. Yeah, I got a Brodozer. I had to get one because my neighbor got one. My neighbor's weird. He reminds me of my friend who died. You know?
Right. What is the name of that show? It's a podcast, or is it like a YouTube channel or something?
It's a YouTube thing. What is it called? I'll think of it in a minute, you know. Anyway.
Well, hey, since we're talking about YouTube, let's talk about YouTube and you.
Oh, yeah, that. I haven't posted anything new for years because I haven't had anything new to say. I kept writing the same damn song.
Really?
Over and over. And it was just like, as an instrumentalist, you know, not everybody could be AC/DC, you know. AC/DC has written the same song since 1974, you know, and they're awesome at it. I love it, you know.
Now, there's some band, I can't remember, they're like an analog of AC/DC, and I can't think of their name. Somebody's like, oh, you'd love them. And I was like, they sound exactly like AC/DC. They're playing the same song.
Yeah,
I can't think of their name though. It's like something.
Did you ever see that thing about Mike Patton? Mike Patton was on at some kind of festival, and they were interviewing him, and then Wolf Mother cranks up in the distance, and he goes, "What is this? This is absolute shit. Who is that? Is that Wolf Mother? What year is this? You know?" And I laughed so hard, no sound came out, you know.
Oh, man.
So I was like, what year is this? You know, but a lot of people like Wolf Mother. Hey, great, you know.
Oh, I was on that train for a little while. You know? I really did, because I'll tell you what happened for me.
At least they're playing guitars.
Yeah, that's true.
They're playing guitars and they're singing the songs, you know.
Well, I was actually years ago, I was at Luna.
Right.
One evening listening to live music, and I was like, man, I like this band. And my buddy behind me, it was Mothership, I think was the name of the band.
Yeah,
it was a local band.
I've heard of them.
And my buddy said, oh, well, if you like this, you'll like Wolf Mother. I was like, why? He said, well, they're just pretty much just playing like Wolf Mother. He said, even some of their lyrics, I mean, I'm not trying to throw them under the bus or anything, but he was kind of just, he's saying that kind of stuff. I said, well, I don't know anything about Wolf Mother, so I went back and listened to them. So for a couple of years there, I was like,
I like the Black Keys.
Oh yeah,
I like the Black Keys. See, you know, they're just like a bunch of, they're just some fat sounding lo-fi filth, man. I like it. You know?
No, I'm with you. And I mean, dude, they really blew up too. I mean, everybody and their brothers covering something, you know, especially like young bands and things like that.
Well, what I like about it is that it doesn't sound homogenized, sanitized for your protection.
Yeah,
you know, that's you know, in a lot of you know, modern production is like you know, kind of there's not a hair out of place.
Yeah, it's tweaked in studio to perfection. Yeah, I hear you.
And I get it. That's the sound that sells records. You know, okay, more power to you, but I tend to gravitate towards things, you know, where I can hear an amplifier, you know, flying apart in the background, you know.
And I'm happy, I know it. I'm helpless.
Sorry for interrupting the conversation, but I have something I need to tell you about. You may or may not know this, but this podcast is produced in the city of Sulphur, Louisiana, one of the sister cities that make up Southwest Louisiana. All of my childhood memories are wrapped up in the city of Sulphur. It's my home, and it's been a good home for most of my life. There is a growing diversity of unique businesses, services, and events in Sulphur, each with a rich and colorful story to tell about their particular place in this little jewel on the west side of the Calcasieu River. My mission is to promote good news, to put a positive signal out in the world. That's why my team at Parker Brand Creative Services has created the new brand, Sulfur Today. Here's how it works. Post your Sulfur event, service, photos, videos, or information using the hashtag Sulfur Today. That's it. My team and I will scan and curate those posts through the social media platforms we've put in place. Before you make your post, just type hashtag. That's a £sign for the folks that don't know what a hashtag is. And the words Sulfur Today with no space. My team at Parker Brand is monitoring this tag right now, and they're ready to create positive digital curb appeal for our city by sharing all the very best Sulfur has to offer through the Sulfur Today social media pages. As the Sulfur Today project grows, we will be scheduling interviews and video sessions with businesses, events, and services so they can tell their story of Sulfur Today in a series of ongoing micro-documentaries. Look for the eye-catching Sulfur Today sign when you're out and about. And be ready, we may be stopping by to visit you for a photo op. And don't forget to stop by the Parker Brand Creative Services studio in Sulphur to grab a Sulfur Today decal for your vehicle or business. We want people visiting our area to know that they can find all the wonderful things we have to offer with ease and be a part of our history by utilizing the Sulfur Today pages or by searching the Sulfur Today hashtag. Do you want to help us tell the story of Sulfur Today? Here's what I need you to do right now. Visit and like the Facebook page at facebook.com/Sulfur Today. And be sure to share positive sulfur information and post often using the hashtag Sulfur Today. Now, back to Find the Good News.
I love you just as well.
It's funny, man, because I maybe not even just with music necessarily, but I tend to gravitate toward things with cracks and scratches in it. Like I like vinyl. I like old VHS tapes. I like even.
Okay, that's a little weird.
I do. I like something about the tracking. Like when the tracking goes through it, I go, well, this is I think what's happened. I told a buddy of mine this, and I said, I think what's happened is I've attached those sounds to good times in my life or those things. So when I see tracking, it reminds me of a time, and that time was good. And so it's not that I love the messiness of it, but I love the memory it stimulates.
Well, I like the way vinyl sounds, number one, and what I miss, what I like is the tactile process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Manually, it's like cooking something on a timer. Oh, it ran out. I need to turn the record over.
Yeah.
And then you have the big cover art, and you can read it.
Yeah. I'm with you. There's something, I like primal things that are a little more.
And it smells good. I remember, it was, and this is maybe an old grumpy guy talking, but what it was basically a sacred process, although that's a strong word, but I would ride my bike to the record store and I would plunk down my money and I would buy this record. And we didn't have access to YouTubes and internets and things like that, the internets. And so you were stuck with that record and you wore it out. And sometimes you would not like the record that you bought, but you invested this money, you invested this time, your allowance, your job, whatever it is, to buy this record, and you kept playing it, and all of a sudden you got turned on to something new. You could change your mind over the process of time. These days you can go, I don't like that.
Yep, that's right.
Next, I don't like that.
Love that you're talking about this.
I don't like that.
Love it, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I find things on Spotify that I don't necessarily like, and I'll listen to it over and over and over.
Force yourself to kind of sink into that, yeah. I know what you mean, because I've had these conversations with a bunch of people about different things, but for me, it was cassettes. We grew up,
They're coming back.
Yeah, but it was like you said, you had side one and side two, and I can remember going, well, I don't love every song, but after you'd listen to them, because you couldn't really, later there was that technology where you could kind of fast forward quickly.
Yeah, search.
Yeah, search, right.
And you hear the tape go,
That's right. I was looking for the gaps,
bam,
But, you had to just sort of live with it, and then what would happen is those songs would grow on you. I went and saw Styx, and they what I loved about it, I guess, where they're at now in their history and career was that they can kind of do whatever they want, because they're legends, right?
Right.
So between each song, they would give these little histories or philosophies behind this album it came from. Mm-hmm. And one of them said that, he said, used to, we didn't just write songs, we wrote albums. It was designed to be listened to as one thing.
Yeah.
Don't cheat yourself out of, maybe this was the hit, but don't cheat yourself out of this whole album experience. And I really liked that, and I'd never really even considered it, to be honest.
These days, everything's a single experience.
Yeah. Song of the summer type stuff, yeah.
Right. But harkening back to the songs of the summer, my wife turned me on to this song. She goes, well, you'll like this. And it was Anna's Son by a band called Walk the Moon. And it turned me on because the production was very slick, but at the same time, the singer, you could tell, I know a little bit about production enough to be dangerous. I could tell the singer double and triple tracked his vocal on the chorus, but some of the background vocals, he's not in time and he's not even in tune. It just sounds like, his throat's bleeding up. Son, maybe, but it was just something that just made me happy.
Yeah, that there was that roughness in there. Yeah, I got to left it.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I could play a snippet if it'll even come on the mic, things that turn me on, man. Because usually these days a vocal production on a record is so slick, and I love those anomalies that happen, and I was just like going, oh yeah, human beings, Well,
how's that? I mean, so we were talking about YouTube, and do you ever post something like that on YouTube where you see it and you go, oh man, this thing sort of leaked through, this rawness, this
Man, not really. Other people have said I should do a YouTube channel talking about music and talking about things like that, and then I get geared up to do it, and then I sit down and I just go, what am I even gonna talk about, because it's like, am I, I get a little bit disturbed by that, not by people that are gonna hate it or anything like that, and cast aspersions my way. I don't care. In art, I'll get back to YouTube in a second. In art, I look at it, it's like people go, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Or they go, I hate this so bad. I hate this. This Trip's music makes me hate God. I hate everything about it. I'm like, oh, cool. Or I love this so much. If anybody goes, oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's the worst. That's the worst. But you also have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. But getting back to YouTube, I want to get back to posting some things. But sometimes I go live on Facebook. Maybe some of it's still on my page in there. But generally I just wind up goofing off. Generally I just wind up goofing off, and I'll be, talking about something, and then all of a sudden I'll belch in the middle of it, and, or I start doing imitations of people. I've seen the top of the mountain, and it is good, Beavis. And I start to do things like that, and then it's got nothing to do with music, and everybody,
Well, there you go. Then again, though, there's those people that are attracted. They're probably going to be attracted to your persona,
Well, and it's like, a lot of people, it's like Rick Beato's page about music. It's totally brilliant, and I'm totally not that, But yeah, of course I'd be myself. Adam Neely, I follow him too on YouTube, But as far as learning concrete things about music, those two guys are amazing. Rick Beato doing his dissertation on Olivier Messiaen's modes of limited transposition. My gosh, I got through the first two, and I was like going, oh my goodness, this is a lifetime of work in just two things.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. I'm more the guy who can, I guess my skill would be I can kind of Barney things down to where you can understand it.
Okay.
To where it's not massive intellectual cerebral process.
Right. I got you.
I'd also be more philosophical. It's like 20-something years ago, there was this great thing on A&E, back when it was A&E, and it was actually Arts and Entertainment. It was Yo-Yo Ma a month at Tanglewood. Tanglewood is a conservatory for young orchestral musicians.
Okay.
And it's up on the East Coast somewhere. And anyway, it culminated with them playing the cello concerto by Nolly Gruber, which is a tonal work. But anyway, Yo-Yo Ma said, you got to get to the deepest core of why you play. I would dive into, why do you play? Why do you play? You scratch the surface. You scratch the surface, then you go because it's fun, and it is, But I play. It's almost like a Sufi thing, I have to play. I want to play at such a high level of energy that I'm almost flailing my way to God.
Love that. Yeah, I knew exactly where you were headed with that, man.
And so it becomes this a stream of consciousness, and I always talk, when you play, what are you thinking? I'm thinking about the maximization of flow. I just want to flow.
Yeah, you just drop into it.
I want to flow, and that's it. It's a straight line, one linear train of thought, and then it gets a bit odd, but because sometimes you're working with musicians that can't keep up with it,
Yeah.
And normally when I play with other humans, I'm I serve the room.
Okay.
And you
have an awareness of who you're playing with.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like sometimes musicians tend to be very conservative, and so it's like you just kind of try to read the room and just do your thing and enjoy yourself, hopefully, and get out. Other times you just rip it. You
sink right in.
Yeah, I got some guys I play with in Nashville. It's a group called the Power Triplets, and we've done some records. Look it up on Spotify, the Power Triplets. We got 3 records out, and it's believe it or not, it's with the drummer for Tracy Lawrence.
Okay.
And the guitar player, his day gig is he plays with Jonathan Davis from Korn.
Okay.
And we get together and play a bunch of how come you don't have a singer instrumental rock music. It can be described as progressive, things like that, but it falls into the category of the Guthrie Govan kind of stuff and things like that. Guitar player writes most of the material, thank goodness.
So it's interesting. Help me learn, and for people who don't know you, learn this about you. The person who recommended you, Marcus, he used the words world-renowned.
Huh?
He used the words world-renowned.
I don't know about that.
But you seem to have connections and have played with people all over the world, yeah?
I have, yeah.
Yeah?
I have, but world-renowned, he does, compared to like Jaco Pastorius, Geddy Lee, and Les Claypool, and Jeff Berlin, and Lawrence Cottle, people like that. No, I'm not world-renowned, I got a day gig, I kind of haven't, to be honest, I haven't done a solo bass show since 2014. I just haven't been interested in it because, again, I started writing the same song over and over and over. And what happened with that is, like, I realized that I didn't know anymore.
What do you mean?
I was at the limits of my technique at the time. I was at the limits of my harmonic knowledge.
I see.
And I was just writing pretty songs. but inside I wasn't feeling very pretty, you know.
I see.
I wasn't feeling very pretty at all, and I just wanted to make some acro stuff. And so I did. Shibboleth is mostly an ensemble thing, and it's got some angular, ugly stuff in there, and it's got some power of the rock, and it enabled me to do some experiments with microtonal synths, and it enabled me to do things where the title track maximizes flow, and that the bass line, even though the track's in 4, it's in 4/4 the whole time, everything rolls over the bar, so the downbeat's always shifting.
Okay.
And my old drummer Kevin Radomski played the drum track on that, because I knew that he was going to understand it.
Okay.
And I didn't have to tell him what to play, he was just going to know. And that's something, it's like a lot of musicians, it's like the people that you get along with musically the best, they just know.
That's what I was going to ask you,
They just know. You don't have to talk about it. If you're having to talk about the arrangement and having an endless debate on whether it should be F natural on the bass and, C on the organ, it's absurd. It's absurd.
Do you have like this sort of SEAL Team 6 of musicians in your mind that you're like, okay?
Always do.
Yeah.
Always do. Yeah. I got Alpha team. I got Bravo team. I got Charlie team. I got Delta. I've got Echo.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're all probably for different purposes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they sync up with you.
Yeah.
Or you sync up with them, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
That too. It's like I'm on somebody's short list.
Yeah.
Which is good. Now sometimes it's like I don't do. I quit playing local gigs. They were dealing with people that hadn't really progressed since 1979 or something like that. I had to do that because they needed somebody to play bass. They didn't need me. And as I was getting older, I just wanted to. Do you need a bass player or do you need me? It's completely.
I see what you mean.
It's a completely different thing,
I get that, man. I mean, and even with other things that have nothing to do with music, it's like, even graphic design.
Right.
I mean, that's what we do, and we've been doing it long enough to where there's certain things you just do out of instinct. You're just good at those things,
right?
And you realize sometimes with a new client, it's like, do you really? You might not need what we offer, even though on paper it's graphic design. As you go down the list of folks, you might not need us. You know what I mean?
Right.
You might just need somebody to do this thing, and it's not. You don't need to hire us to do that.
Yeah,
it's
correct.
Not where we're at anymore.
Correct. Yeah.
Now that sounds arrant. I don't mean it that way. It probably comes out.
No, it's not
but
arrogant.
You know what I mean? It just.
It's not arrogant. I don't think that's falls under arrogance at all. It's only arrogant if the other people perceive that.
Okay.
Arrogance can be perception. Now when I was 22, I was arrogant and cocky as hell. I really was. But then I had a few life experiences where I got out of my shell musically as an artist, and I got to see who was actually out there when I went to the National Guitar Summer Workshop.
That was it.
And I would sit there, at age 23, and there's 13-year-old kids, they're playing stuff on bass that was just beyond you, completely beyond you. And I was just like, I wasn't doing that when I was 13, 14.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that.
And you're just probably going, what are they going to be if they continue on this trajectory?
Uh-huh. Some of them I've stayed in touch with, and they're phenomenal players.
Really,
to this day.
So is that? I mean, that's skill.
So I came home. So I came home with my tail between my legs. It's just like, And my dad laughed at it. He just goes, "Got your ass kicked?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I sure did." He goes, "It's good for you."
I like the soft, subtle way.
Oh yeah,
that you portray that.
Well, that's why my dad was.
That's great,
That's
man.
why my dad was. It's
great.
like I remember when I was 15 or 16. One of this, and it didn't come true until I was 23, and I went to the workshop. I had my butt all stuck out like a peacock and everything like that. And I mentioned to my dad that I was on my way to being the best bass player in Lake Charles. And he popped a gasket. He just goes, "What the hell does that even mean? It's a dot on a map. What the hell?" He goes, "When I was in the Navy band, there was some guys that never even went outside their neighborhood in Brooklyn. Didn't see even the whole borough of Brooklyn beyond 4 or 5 blocks." He said, that ain't, he goes, "Ever been to France and learned a French sense of harmony with the influx of African immigration and blah, 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 due to the colonization and everything of Africa?" And all of a sudden, the grumpy old fart's blowing my mind.
Right. He's expanding the worldview, right? It's like...
And he just said, "You can't be like people that go from one end of their neighborhood or one end of Cowtown to another, and that is the known, because it isn't the known."
That's actually really great advice from a parent.
Right. But again,
terrifying probably at first.
Oh yeah, well, old school military background,
Yeah.
And anyway, the movie 1917.
Yeah.
I think centers around the Battle of Saint Mihiel. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was there. He was in artillery. He was artillery. Lobbing shells at the Huns. And then playing cornet or whatever he did at night in the band.
And I'm happy, I know it. I'm helped.
I hate to pause the program, but I want to ask you something. Did you know that you can help me and my team at Parker Brand Creative Services grow the Find the Good News signal? For less than a fancy cup of coffee, you can become an Early Risers Club patron on our Patreon page. What's Patreon? Well, it's a way for creators to fund their projects by pooling support from those really passionate people that believe in what they're doing. Do you believe in what we're doing with Find the Good News? I hope you do. We believe that there's already enough negative news in the world, even right here at home, and that good people doing good works deserve a platform to speak from too. That's why we created Find the Good News, and we believe in that simple mission. Maybe you believe in it too. If you do believe in finding and sharing good news, then head over to our Patreon page right now or check out the link in the show description. For a commitment of $3.33 a month, you can join the Early Risers Club of Find the Good News Patreon supporters and get access to the B-Sides, a patrons-only podcast with the crew behind Find the Good News, Parker Brand Creative Services. Each time we level up, the Patreon rewards will get bigger. If you're tired of old news, bad news, and fake news, help support Find the Good News at patreon.com/findthegoodnews. That's patreon.com/findthegoodnews. Now, back to the episode.
I love you just as well.
So my dad just gave me a roasting about it, but knowing me, I probably went to my room in a huff, just saying, he's blowing my mind, but at the same time, I had no idea what he's talking about. And, when I got my ass kicked when I was 23, I understood.
Then it all makes sense.
It all gelled, and I was just like going, I gotta practice, man. And even though now due to the modern world, but National Guitar Summer Workshop doesn't exist. But it was just, if I could have lived there for 2 years, I'd been happy, because people wore their guitars and their basses like clothes, and they would sit there at the table with their instruments strapped on, take a bite of food, tring, 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 tiddly, 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 you know, and do their thing, take a bite of food, burp, ting, 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 you know.
Yeah.
And it was just like that.
It was an extension of their body.
Sun up to sundown. And, you know, and it's like if you sat in the little dorm lobby and watched TV, you were viewed as like a pariah, you know. It's just like going,
weren't devoted.
dude, come jam. We're down the hall. I'm watching Saturday Night Live. What the hell for? You know?
Yeah.
You know, call your mom, have them VCR it, you know? I mean, come on, you know? Dude, you know?
I love what you said a second ago, how you came home from that experience and you thought, man, I got to practice. I wonder what percentage of people have hit that point in their life, whatever it is they're doing, where they get to that stage where they really do see, wow, I have a long way to go.
Right.
And they come home, but they don't say, gotta practice.
Right.
They give up.
Well, I'm 52 now, and what bums me out, you know, getting older doesn't bum me out. You know, that's just a fact of life, but what bums me out is I'm never going to see it all. I'm never going to hear it all. I'm never going to smell it all. I'm never going to taste it all. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to live long enough
I hear you.
to experience everything, you know, and I don't like that, you know.
So you got a little bit of a mortality thing going on there. And it's not about your own age. It's about the fact that you'd like to be able to taste and hear. And
right.
Interesting.
Well,
okay.
that's the reason I want to do this compilation thing with local artists. And, you know, and the thing is, it's kind of gatekeeping. You know, these people are backing up people that do regular entertainment, you know, music for your dancing, dining pleasure, you know, which is awesome, which is valuable, is very valuable. But at the same time, they have some things inside of them that reflect their talent. Hey, there goes one.
There you are.
And that won't necessarily be featured or understood by these audiences, although understanding of music, I think that everybody has the same. I think it's just the way you were brought up.
Yeah, I got you. Well, we like what we like. I mean, too. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, everyone's going to have different.
Well, I like being turned on to new things. You know that you know. Sometimes I've discovered the greatest art, the greatest music. You know, like a bad romance novel. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Oh, I love you. You know, and then you get slapped around enough, you know, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden you got a new romance, you know.
What's something that like really stands out for you, man, in your history that at first when you heard it, you're like, this is I just not enjoying this, but then it just grew on you, and you're like, man, I'm a believer.
Hans Reichel's doxophone pieces, microtonal string quartets, Arnold Schoenberg's piano pieces.
Oh wow! So you have a bunch of things you've been turned into a believer.
Let's see. Good grief. What else am I trying to think? Webern, Debussy. Some of Debussy's music I didn't like. Now I just love it. Except for Pelléas and Melisande. My mother and I argue about that. She's just like, well, that baritone, it just carries the whole opera. And I was like going, that's exactly what gets on my nerves, is the baritone singer. It's not musical. And she goes, well, you're not listening hard enough.
That's good.
You know, and, you know, and things like that. And what I, I didn't like a lot of atonal music, and now I love it. You know, I'm just like going, are we gonna at least listen to something done within the 21st century? You know, it's like it's like the pianist Glenn Gould. I think the only thing he ever wrote was a string quartet, and it's beautiful, and it's very angular. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I tried writing a string quartet one time, and because I thought, oh, this will be cake. It ain't cake. It was the hardest thing I ever tried to do. I got 8 good bars.
Really?
I got 8 good bars after a week of slaving away. 8 good bars, and I was just like going, anybody can write a string quartet? You're rocking. You know, when you get into microtonal music, which I'm way into, instead of I probably maybe here's a zipper sound.
This is what I was waiting for, man.
And no, that's not my pants. All right. So get your minds out of the gutter, you know. But normally when this is a fretless bass, but normally when you listen to modern music, that's the G string. What we listen to is 12 equal divisions. And we divide our music up into that. But microtonal music will be this. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did about 25 notes per octave right there.
Okay.
So it's the notes between the notes. And what microtonal music, now Leonard Bernstein in the Norton lectures says tonality is innate in us. For instance, they just dug up a bone flute that's supposedly 40,000 years old and is tuned to a pentatonic scale. Pentatonic scale is this. And then got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. Then you hit the octave and it recycles itself. That's 2-octave minor pentatonic scale, but this flute is tuned like this. Maybe. So you got that, the different combinations of the notes. You know, so, and then if you take, so what do you have? Then you have the pentatonic scale there. So some hoser was playing the blues basically 40,000 years ago.
Wow, man.
But you know, so but with the fretless bass you can also, and that's what speaks to my heart the most. But you basically have this. Say you take a third. Then on a normal fretted instrument, the third is actually out of tune to be able to play in all 12 keys in tune, the equal tempered scale that we use. So the third's going to sound like that on the guitar. You can hear it slightly out of whack. On a fretless bass, I can do this. That third is 100% in tune. So again, if you play say you tune the 5th, so playing a D major 7, that's the way it normally sounds, with the third slightly out of tune. On the fretless bass, I can do this. I've got the third perfectly in tune now.
Interesting.
But you'll listen to that third that is perfectly in tune. The chord sounds actually out of tune to your ear. But it isn't. It's perfectly in tune. Now to play it out of tune, which the way we hear it sounds more in tune, but it's actually not. That is.
Interesting, man.
So what's perfectly in tune sounds out of tune to our ears.
Yeah, that's wild. I'll tell you, I wish people...
Because we've been conditioned to that over several hundred years. You know, when Bach wrote the Well-Tempered Clavier, it's basically just an advertisement to a new system of tuning. You know, before that, they didn't do that. They didn't do that because if you listen to a harmonic resonance of a string, just an open string, it's completely out of tune. That's out of tune.
Well, your fingers just dance across the instrument, man.
I've just been doing it a long time.
Yeah, well, I was watching you online. That was what I was fascinated with. Was I love the sound, but just the watching you with the instrument.
I'm also a frustrated drummer. That's my heavy metal drum solo. Because they would always do that lick. Then they would do the hoodla-hoodlas, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be able to do that, you know.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. When I was looking at different videos of you play, and I was like, wow, look at he just like you said, he's drumming with the bass.
Well, yeah, you can get. Yeah, I don't know if they at the. That's a little but yeah, but big. Let's see. You know, just a little blues riff.
No, yeah, man. I could sit and watch that all day and listen to it. It's both, you know.
Oh, God help you.
I love watching. You said that getting into the flow. I could see that clearly, that you sink into that whenever you're playing.
I mean, you know, even if you're, you know, take a regular blues lick, you know, but if you you can kind of add things, but it also depends on who you're playing with, because you can sidestep it instead of doing that. A lot of jazz musicians do that. You know,
that's awesome, man.
Then you get some, you know, so that kind of sounds slick, you know. But if I'm a rock musician, they'll be like, "What the hell you doing?" You know, if I'm a jazz musician, they'll be like, "I get what you're doing, but here's how to do it better." You know.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's good, man.
You know, so, but anyway, yeah, you know. So that's, you know, microtonal music. Initially, I didn't like it. I got turned on to it by researching a composer named Lamont Young, who actually one of his patrons in the early 60s was one regulation Yoko Ono.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You know, a lot of people don't understand Yoko Ono, but she's got a hardcore background in the New York avant-garde composers scene, hanging out with Lamont Young, Terry Riley, and people like that, you know. So that's why she was kind of a whack job with all of her screeching business.
Ah, okay.
You know, that was a thing, man. That was the thing, man. It still is in some circles, you know. If you listen to Meredith Monk's music, you know, where she does, you know, all that glossolalia stuff, that's pretty interesting. You know, there's a whole realm of music, you know, outside of my chosen instrument, you know. And when you get into all the music that, you know, Julia Wolf does, and Ben Johnston, and Dave Fizenski, and people like that do, all of a sudden, you know, you look at your own instrument and it becomes rather kind of small. it becomes small, and you realize that you're functioning within these kind of limitations that are a lot of fun, but at the same time it's a limitation. It's just like, oh my god, it's like being at a party at a huge hotel, but every floor's got some different vibe going on. It's like bars in Asia. If you go there's going to be 5 stories of these bars, and they're almost designed like you're in an MC Escher print, because you go in one door and then there's doors within doors within stairwells within stairwells. You waddle into one place and it's a speakeasy. Everybody's all mellow. Then you go up another floor, go down the hall, and then you go down the hall further. There's a blues band playing. And it's all in the same building. Yeah. And I was like, when I went to Asia, then I said, that's what music needs to be like. It's like this big, huge club. Everybody's here. All the humanity is in this building or on this big blue marble going through space, and I'm sitting there going, oh my god, I heard this great blues band. I'm gonna go down the hall, I'm gonna go down here, everything's all mellow. Music's the same way, man. You got the atonal fruitcakes over here, you got the modular synth people, you have people that are just doing bizarre vocal music. You got throat singing over here. You got Finnish joik music. You have, you have people playing zouk, and man, everything is just happening, man. You just, it's just like, the second you had enough of one room, go to another room, man.
Yeah, I like that, man. That's a good, a good analog for the way we ought to just experience the world in general, man.
I'm happy. I know it.
This episode's Fishing for Goodies Fishbowl sponsor is Brimstone Museum and Henning Cultural Center in Sulphur, Louisiana. I don't know what you look for when you travel, but one of the things I look for when I'm putting together my itinerary is a unique museum or gallery in the city I'm traveling to. I do this almost every time I go to a new city, but if I'm being honest, I'm guilty of not always doing that very thing right here at home in Sulphur, Louisiana. That's really a shame, because we have one of the most interesting, historically relevant, and culturally rich corners in any city in the country about 2 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. I'm talking about the Brimstone Museum and Henning Cultural Center. Have you ever really thought about why our city is named Sulphur? They've got a permanent exhibit on the history of the sulfur industry that answers that simple question and more. You really get a full scope of just how important the sulfur mining industry was to the development of Southwest Louisiana and the impact it had on the rest of the world. Yes, the rest of the world. On the same property, right next door to the museum, is the Henning Cultural Center, presenting some of the most interesting, modern, and culturally relevant local art shows I've ever seen. My dear friend Tom Trahan and the Brimstone Historical Society have really worked hard to give us this treasure, and it's a multifaceted jewel that I plan to take advantage of more often. You don't have to wonder what their hours are, or how to get there, or what shows are coming up. Just go to brimstonemuseum.org like I did, and subscribe to their mailing list right there on the homepage. That's brimstonemuseum.org. Tom will make sure you start getting the announcements for each and every new show at the gallery. But you don't have to wait for the mail to arrive to enjoy this historical local treasure. You don't have to be guilty, like me, of overlooking a local wonder that conveniently sits next to the Grove, one of the most beautiful walking parks in Southwest Louisiana. Drop in and say hi to Tom for me. Tour the museum and center, and make sure to tell Tom that you heard about Brimstone Museum on Find the Good News. Now, let's take that dive in the fishbowl.
Hey, look, you said you didn't listen to this show, so you see that fishbowl right there?
The fishbowl.
Every guest draws 3 questions out of there and answers them.
Okay, right. Good, because I got to pee. All right, so I got 3.
3.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
All
right. Okay. First one is, who's the worst boss you've ever had and why? I don't want to talk bad about any boss I ever had.
Who's the best boss you ever had?
I haven't had it yet.
Oh,
I haven't had the best boss I've ever had.
Boss yet. I like that.
Who's the worst boss? Well, if I view them as worse, I tend to not view them as being the worst. I actually look at what did I learn.
Ah, nice. Perfect.
And if I found the good that I learned far outweighed the negative. So I'm lucky in that regard. I had some bosses I did not get along with, but I learned something from that I take with me to this day, and that's okay.
Shouldn't we all try to do that? What a great perspective to have.
Right? And I look at it this way. Was anything negative from a human experience? Did I not have a life? Had I sold my soul to something? And the answer is no. So I can't bad rap anybody for that, We had disagreements, but that's what you call normal.
Yeah,
I guess.
Right on.
Just because I have a disagreement, or 2 or 3 or 6, does not necessarily make them a bad person.
Right.
Let's see, what was this? Would you rather be rich with no friends or be poor with lots of friends? If I'm having a bad day, I'd rather be rich with no friends. I'm just kidding. I'd rather have lots of friends.
Yeah.
I'd rather have lots of friends.
Do you have lots of friends?
I have a close circle of really close friends.
Yeah.
And then I have I got a lot of bros and pals.
Sure.
So yeah, I've got a lot of friends.
That's good, man. That's
they're all different people. They're all different kinds of people because they range from really cerebral, kind of earth muffin people to some of my best friends are good old boys, you know. And I ain't got a problem with any of that. Let's see. Would you rather breathe underwater or walk through walls?
I like when it's something like that.
Would I rather breathe underwater or walk through walls? That's tough. Walk through walls. I would like to breathe underwater.
Me too.
You know why? Because I could use that and help clean up our oceans and waterways.
Yes.
There's a subreddit that I go to called Urban Hell. Because, one of the left-handed compliments I get from people is like, well, you don't seem like you're from here. You seem like you belong in New York City. And New York City was always my great fantasy ever since I was a kid, And, and I've been there a couple of times and I fit right in. I loved it, And a lot of people think they're rude. They're not. They're just matter of fact. Hello means hello. Goodbye means goodbye. Piss off means piss off. There are no bones about it. Everything here is a little bit more subversive and passive aggressive until it's not,
Yeah.
So this is fun. I could do this all
Man, you
day.
can go for it, man. First person to do this. Go for it, man.
Things you've achieved that surprised you. Going to the gym and actually getting in shape. Actually getting in shape.
So you were like apprehensive of it, did it, and went, oh, this actually worked like I thought it was.
It's a habit, yeah. Let's see, I've already answered those cards. Let's see, I want to dig something weird. Describe what life will be like in 3 years if you don't allow your bad habits to stop you.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Same as it is now.
Yeah?
Yeah. One more. Then I really gotta pee. Let's see. Would you rather always have gas or have bad breath? Oh man, I love farting. I love to fart. If you do a really long fart while you walk, it actually propels you a little bit faster.
Gives you a little boost.
Yeah. A scientific fact: if you farted your way through space, it'll still take you about 10 years to hit highway speed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, that is an interesting fact.
Yeah.
I'm going
so,
to have to share with my youngest son.
yeah. So if you try to fart your way to Saturn, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it.
Slow trip.
Yeah, you're not gonna even make it to the moon within probably your lifetime.
I got one more question for you.
Okay.
You see that yellow coffee mug right there behind the fishbowl?
Yeah.
That now belongs to you, sir.
It does.
Yeah. And the last question's on the back of that mug.
On the back of it, did anything good happen today? Yeah, there was a lot of good things happen today. I made some good sales at my job.
Nice.
I got up in the morning and everything ran on time today. My coffee was absolutely delicious. I haven't slummed it all day long coffee-wise. I got to meet you. I got to play a little bit of bass and talk about some interesting things. And so yeah, man, it's been awesome to be here.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you took the time to come, man. This has been a treat for me.
And I got stickers.
You got stickers, man. You can't leave the good news without stickers.
Man, well, that's what we need is more, it's like Oddball said in Kelly's Heroes, more positive waves, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, thanks for being a part of that, man.
Man, thank you for having me today.
This is great.
All right.
And I love you just as well.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Trip Wamsley. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this one, consider becoming an early riser patron at patreon.com/findthegoodnews. If you have time to share or review, that's a big help as well. Thank you for choosing good news and for pressing play.